insists Meghan must be treated as HRH. That means family members must show her the formal respect of bows and curtsies. Meghan's mole reckons this has Meghan's claws all over it, including this ridiculous notion that lower grade members of the royal family who are further down the pecking order would have to bow to this traitor. It ain't going to happen.
One doing the right thing and all the good things that he and his wife are doing to securing the future of the monarchy. I mean, that's where it's at. The future is with William and Catherine. The lead should be followed by what is the future, not what could destroy.
What if Meghan's demand for royal bows was an entitlement? It was a calculated hostage negotiation using Harry's children as leverage. The real weapon wasn't the HRH titles. It was forcing William to choose between looking heartless or looking weak. While everyone mocks the audacity of demanding curtsies after abandoning duty, they're missing the strategic brilliance. Meghan weaponized impossibility itself. This isn't about getting what she wants. It's about making rejection cost more than acceptance.
His courtier, who is maintaining at the moment these very tenuous links with the team in Montecito, is just to say no. Just say no. Seriously, don't do it.
Forget the tabloid narrative of delusional demands. This is negotiation warfare at its most sophisticated. The players aren't beggars. They're hostage negotiators who understand leverage. When Meghan demanded HRH treatment while bashing the monarchy, she wasn't being tone deaf. She was creating an impossible position for Charles and William.
These completely ludicrous demands just shows that if you open the door...
The real battlefield isn't whether she gets bows and curtsies. It's forcing the monarchy to publicly reject a mother's request for her children's heritage. Every demand was calibrated for maximum emotional damage upon refusal. Security for the children, who denies kids protection, royal titles, their birthright, media protection, basic privacy.
Going to keep on damaging your reputation. Let me just tell you, before we bring P. Dina, royal YouTube sensation...
Here's what changes everything. Meghan understood that impossible demands serve a purpose. They make the refuser look cruel. She wasn't trying to win these negotiations. She was trying to make the monarchy lose by saying no. The institution thought this was about privileges. It was actually about positioning them as the villains.
Press control and a controversial requirement for how the royal family treats Meghan Markle. The source disclosed that Harry is adamant.
The strategic miscalculation happened when William saw this as laughable rather than lethal. When the demands landed on his desk, bows, curtsies, taxpayer security, media blackouts, he reportedly couldn't find words. He thought it was absurd. But that speechlessness was exactly what Meghan had calculated.
Son and what he has done should not play into the work of the monarchy. It should play into your role as a father.
Think about the genius positioning. She wasn't asking William to bow to her. She was asking him to respect the mother of Harry's children. Every rejection would be reframed, not denying Meghan, but denying family. Not refusing privileges, but withholding birthright. Not maintaining protocol, but punishing children.
The other people, the people of the country are behind, and I just think it would be a huge mistake for the king.
Palace insiders whispered about California royal fantasy, missing that this was pure Hollywood negotiation tactics. In entertainment, you ask for triple what you want, making your real goal seem reasonable by comparison. But Meghan went further. She asked for the impossible to make rejection itself the story. The killing stroke was the security demand. Harry doesn't just want protection, he wants taxpayers to fund it. When refused, the headline writes itself. Palace denies security to Diana's grandchildren. It's emotional terrorism disguised as negotiation. Here's what William missed. Meghan had transformed every traditional royal protocol into a trap. Say yes, and you legitimize their rebellion. Say no, and you're heartless. She'd weaponized the monarchy's own rules against them. The woman who abandoned duty was now using duty as her sword, demanding the institution either break its principles by accepting her or break its image by rejecting children.
Some public information that we hear that you want your wife to have the HRH now. But why is that even out there?
Every subsequent demand accelerated the strategic strangulation. The media blackout request wasn't delusional, it was deliberately impossible. Meghan knew British law prevents crown censorship of press. By demanding it anyway, she guaranteed refusal, which she'd spin as "Palace won't protect us from the media that killed Diana." Consider the escalation pattern. Start with titles, birthright. Add security, safety. Demand media silence, privacy. Require formal bows, respect. Each demand built on the last, creating a cascade where refusing one made refusing all look systematic rather than reasonable. It's negotiation jujitsu, using the weight of their own protocols against them. Meanwhile, Harry played his role perfectly. The traumatized son terrified for his children's safety. Whether genuine or performed, it didn't matter. He became the emotional ammunition while Meghan remained the strategic architect. Good cop, bad cop. Except both cops were working against the palace. The timing was surgical. These demands emerged just as Charles was establishing his reign, when stability mattered most. The new king faced an impossible choice: cave and look weak at his most vulnerable moment, or refuse and look cruel while still consolidating power. Meghan had found the perfect pressure point. Palace courtiers rolling their eyes and muttering "delusional" missed the point entirely. This wasn't delusion, it was destruction. Every impossible demand was another mine in the field, waiting for the monarchy to step on it. The more outrageous the request, the worse the refusal looked. The masterstroke was keeping it all private initially, then letting it leak. Now the palace couldn't even deny properly without confirming they'd rejected security for children. Meghan had made silence suspicious and denial devastating. Storm, 5 to 7 minutes, 350 words. This exploits our fundamental need for fairness toward children. Humans are hardwired to protect offspring, even those not our own. When someone denies children something framed as their birthright, we instinctively side with the kids. Meghan weaponized this biological imperative against an institution built on birthright itself. The aha moment comes when you realize Meghan's demands were never meant to be accepted. They were designed to be rejected in ways that accumulate reputational damage. Each no becomes evidence of cruelty. Each refusal becomes proof of persecution. She turned negotiation into a trap where the monarchy could only lose. Think about the psychological brilliance. By demanding HRH treatment, she wasn't really asking for titles. She was forcing William to formally deny his own nephews and nieces royal status. By demanding taxpayer security, she was forcing Charles to publicly declare his grandchildren unworthy of protection. Every refusal became a rejection of family. The press muzzling demand was the psychological masterstroke. Meghan knew it was impossible, but by asking for it, she could forever claim, "We tried to return, but they wouldn't even protect us from the media that killed Diana." She'd weaponized Diana's death as negotiation leverage, knowing the emotional response would overwhelm logical analysis. Here's what nobody discusses. This technique comes from Hollywood deal-making. You don't negotiate what you want. You negotiate what makes them look bad for denying. Meghan learned this in the entertainment industry where perception is currency. She'd imported Tinseltown tactics to Westminster, and the palace had no defense against it. When sources noted Meghan's fingerprints all over Harry's demands, they thought they were exposing manipulation. They were actually confirming strategic superiority. Of course, it was her strategy. She understood leverage while the palace only understood protocol. She was playing poker while they were playing by rules she'd already weaponized. Who won the long game? Initially, it seems like William with his firm refusal. But examine the cost. Public perception of a fractured family, a king caught between father and monarch, and princes denying protection to their own blood. Meghan lost the battle, but won the war for victim narrative. The cost-benefit analysis reveals genius. Meghan spent nothing making demands. The palace spent credibility denying them. Every rejection became content for future interviews, documentaries, and books. We asked for basic security for our children, and they said no, is worth millions in sympathy and speaking fees. The brutal truth nobody wants to admit: the monarchy's adherence to principle became their weakness. Their inability to bend rules, even absurd ones, made them look inflexible and cruel. Meghan had weaponized their greatest strength, tradition, into their greatest vulnerability. Financial positioning tells the real story. Every denied demand increases Harry and Meghan's value to media companies. Netflix doesn't care about royal protocols. They care about drama. Each palace rejection is another episode, another exclusive, another payday. Meghan monetized rejection itself. Institutional patience versus individual aggression played out unexpectedly. Usually, the palace wins by waiting. But Meghan flipped the script. She made immediate demands that required immediate responses. No time for strategic patience, no room for diplomatic solutions. Answer now and answer wrong either way. What transformed absurd demands into strategic weapons wasn't their content, but their framing. Everything was for the children. Every rejection could be spun as cruelty toward innocence. William might have won the protocol battle, but Meghan won the perception war. And in modern monarchy, perception is power. This template will replicate everywhere. Make impossible demands framed around children or vulnerability. Ensure rejection, monetize the refusal. We'll see it in custody battles where one parent demands impossible conditions. Knowing refusal makes them look reasonable by comparison. In corporate negotiations where workers demand the impossible to make companies look heartless. The strategy appears next in political campaigns. Not, my opponent refused my policy, but my opponent refused to protect children. In international relations, countries making impossible demands to justify pre-planned actions. The victim narrative becomes more valuable than actual victory. Future royal rebels now have the playbook. Don't fight the institution directly, force them to reject reasonable-sounding requests. Don't attack their strength, make their strength attack them. Transform their principles into prisons. Media organizations learn the most valuable lesson. Rejection stories sell better than acceptance. Palace Denny's generates more clicks than Palace agrees. Meghan understood this. She was creating content through conflict, manufacturing headlines through impossible demands. The Meghan-William dynamic created a reproducible blueprint. Frame everything around children's welfare. Demand traditional privileges while rejecting traditional duties. Leak the refusal before the palace can contextualize it. It works because it exploits the gap between institutional logic and emotional response. Corporate negotiators are already studying this. The power of impossible demands isn't in getting them met. It's in making refusal costly. Sometimes losing negotiations wins wars. In your own life, when someone makes impossible demands, recognize the game. They might not want acceptance. They might want your rejection to make you look bad. The more reasonable they frame unreasonable requests, the more strategic they're being. If you're negotiating, understand, sometimes the ask isn't the aim. Creating obligation through refusal, guilt through denial, or sympathy through rejection might be the real goal. Not every negotiation is about getting to yes. When facing impossible demands, don't just refuse, reframe. Explain why the request itself is the problem, not your response. Never let someone weaponize your principles against you by making rejection look cruel. The ultimate lesson? In modern conflict, victimhood is victory. Meghan didn't need royal bows. She needed royal rejection of her request for them. The palace thought they were denying privileges. They were actually providing content. Sometimes the most powerful position isn't getting what you demand. It's being denied it publicly.